Now, joining the discussion is Mohammed Wazen, who is an Israeli affairs specialist. Thank you very much for joining us on the phone. A poll published last week found that around 67% of Israeli respondents favor ending the Gaza war and approving a detainee for prisoners deal. Is this likely to have any effect on the government, the Knesset, or even the war cabinet?
Good afternoon to you and all the viewers. Recently, there has been a change inside the Israeli public opinion regarding ending the war on the Gaza Strip after 20 months of the fight. The public opinion has changed after several protests took place, objecting and opposing the Israeli government politics led by Benjamin Netanyahu, including Edmar Ben-Gvir, who is seeking in all ways possible not to end the war and to hinder any deal. The Israeli people want to end this war and to bring back the detainees because they see that there has been a lot of articles published in the Israeli media saying that Israel is in a vicious cycle of war, and this has been transferred to the military institution, which is now also pushing for ending the war, which was expressed by the chief of staff Zamir, and it was also expressed by more than one military official inside the Israeli army, as they need to sign this deal as soon as possible. Several writers also in several Israeli outlets expressed their desire for the Israeli government to accept a deal for the exchange of detainees and to bring back the rest of the detainees from the Gaza Strip, as the scene is full of complications that are saying that this war did not pay its fruits, and there is a golden opportunity with the pressure of President Donald Trump to have the deal signed in this specific timing. The Israeli public is now requesting to meet with the President of the United States and to pressure the Israeli government to accept the deal. And it is no longer up to Netanyahu political trends and his government, who strongly tend to continue the war, including Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, and they are aware that ending the war will bring them several challenges with the Israeli public itself, because if they are not in a state of war, they will see the shortcomings inside the Israeli society and the trial file will be reopened. And that's why we see that Netanyahu wants a deal with a safe exit, according to several leaks that he demanded Trump to pressure him to end the war and provide a safe exit without being exposed to trial.
Okay, well, let me just interrupt there, because I want to talk about Netanyahu's trip to Washington. He's going there to discuss items with the president, whereas back home, several Likud ministers are simultaneously urging rapid annexation of parts of the West Bank before the summer recess. What will Netanyahu make of this, and what will Trump make of this? It does seem that Trump has had no problem in the past with new settlements by Israel.
Of course, the idea of annexing more lands from the West Bank has been ongoing under the concept of Israeli settlement with all of its forms. And when Smotrich took office as Minister of Finance and he took the five settlements in the West Bank, he built a lot of settlements, and he's working to expand and annex more lands. The file of the West Bank, we can call it the forgotten issue in the framework of the Gaza war, and With the Gaza war and the 12-day war with Iran, the Israeli policy expanded further and further to take more land from the West Bank. And that's why the idea of annexing the West Bank and minimizing its area to be completely controlled controlled by the Israeli government by expanding and building more settlements. Now, the West Bank file, when it's proposed in the Netanyahu-Trump meeting scheduled for next Monday, I think there will be a lot of discussions in this regard, but we cannot say for sure what's going to lead to. But the facto says that the West Bank has been already downsized, and there has been a lot of erosion to the Palestinian lands, which makes the idea of the complete identity of the Palestinian occupied lands completely threatened under the control of the occupation, whether in Gaza or the West Bank. What I see is that Netanyahu's government, including Smotrich and Ben Gvir, wants in any way possible kill the idea of the Palestinian questions with all of its findings, and destroying the Gaza Strip on one side and expanding in the West Bank on the other side are attempts to expand the Israeli area. 7,000 residential units in the occupied Golan, which stresses that the settlement policy is going forward, and Israel never gave up the idea of taking more lands and eliminating the Palestinian identity. There must be a regional stance and an international stance against it. If Trump and Netanyahu want really to end the conflicts and end all wars, and what we call neutralization of the region of all problems, the U.S. president must push against the settlements.
Yes, of course. And I just wanted to bring to cut in there. You mentioned Ben Gvir and Smotrich quite a few times. It's been reported that they're joining forces to try and end any emerging deal. If they do try and sabotage the ceasefire agreement or any detained deal, how might they go about that? And could the fact that they're against the ceasefire and also going against Netanyahu potentially, could that bring the coalition down?
As you have indicated, Smotrich and Ben Gvir were united for the first time in 2 years, which is announced by the Israeli media that Ben Gvir and Smotrich invited each other to meet to take this deal down. And the procedures to achieve or implement this scheme, I think it will go back to what happened today in the Gaza Strip. Israel lost 3 soldiers in different checkpoints in Khan Yunis, and Netanyahu will be pressured by Smotrich and Ben Gvir to respond and to take the oppressive fake scene to Donald Trump that Hamas is still there, the resistance is still there, and Hamas is still defending its grounds, killing more Israeli soldiers as portrayed in the Hebrew media with all of its means and outlets. So these Smotrich and Ben Gvir procedures are threats to withdraw from the Zionist government, and without them the Netanyahu coalition will be very fragile and will lead eventually to the fall of the Israeli government. And if the Knesset is dissolved, this will lead to the declining popularity of Netanyahu, especially also after the Iranian war and his failure in the detainees file. He will be eventually taken down. So the tools now at the hands of Smotrich and Ben Gvir is to threat to withdraw from the Israeli government and to try to convince the far-right parties such as Stash in the government to try and dismantle the government, and Netanyahu, his meeting with Trump, will tackle this point, and this meeting will mark a change in the future of this file altogether, as Trump announced that he will affirm the deal next Monday. There is a very important indicator that took place today, that how fast the military Israeli monitoring announced the killing of the 3 soldiers today in the Gaza Strip. The censorship was never that fast to announce the identities of killed soldiers in the Strip, which is a pressuring card.
Okay, we're going to have to cut you off there because we're just out of time. But thank you very much, Mohammed Wazen, who is an Israeli affairs specialist. Thank you very much for being here with us on Q News.